Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now if you've clicked on this video, then the chances are you're suffering with taillight issues such as this one. Now over the years, I have found a few different ways of repairing these and making these work again. However, this does depend on just how corroded the back of the light is. Now obviously, if it looks like this, then this is obviously too far gone and unfortunately, you'll probably have to replace it. However, with I think these particular units, I think these aren't too bad behind, so it's fairly easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this light off and just have a look at this one and see what we can do with it. Obviously, just to show you that there is a problem with this one, that side I have already done, and as you can see, every single one is working. Of course, the car couldn't hold its charge for just another 5 seconds. Now, as you can see, this is the van model or the estate model. Now, the lights are pretty much always in the same place on the later ones. The access panels are usually the same. Now, as you can see with this one, this is the Mark II van. Now, the estates and the hatchbacks are pretty much exactly the same with how the lights are mounted. You do have a couple of access panels. Majority of them are going to be set up pretty much exactly the same as this, because this part is pretty much the same on the LX, the hatchback. The only thing that's really different is pretty much from here on up. This is a little bit wider on the hatchbacks and such, so the access panels might be slightly different, but they're pretty much in the same spot anyway. So let's show you into this one and how to get these lights off and see what you're looking at. So on this particular model, that would be your little inspection cover, and the door strap for this would attach to that as well. So if we take that off, that's pretty much what you're left with. Now, it looks like this one previously has had wires connected to it for maybe a tow bar system or something, as them blue think that's usually a sign of it's had a tow bar fitted in the past. I have worked on these lights a few years ago, so I know that they are nothing to do with the problem. The problem is the lights themselves. So what you're looking for is you'll have a bolt on the top, 2 in the middle, either side of the plug, and then there's one right at the bottom there. Now, these are a real pain in the backside to get to, especially with the small hole that you've got to work with, but it is doable. You just have to be very patient, and sometimes the nuts do not want to come out. What actually happens is they actually undo the actual stud out of the lens, the holder itself. So that's one thing to watch for. But you will get the lights out, and once you get the lights out, they're a lot easier to work with than in the car. So let's try and get these out, and hopefully they all come out nicely. Now, hopefully, as you can probably see, this is your little inspection hole, and my hand alone is quite big for that hole, so you really do struggle trying to get behind that. Now, what you'll really need is a little 8mm socket. You could use a spanner, it'll take some time, but whichever suits you best. Now remember, you've got 1 on the top, 2 in the middle, and then 1 at the bottom. Now when you're working with these lights, it is a lot easier to take the light out of the car and work on it that way, because trying to work through here, you can't see, you can barely feel anything, and it just makes the job so much longer and more difficult. So it is a lot easier to take the light out of the car. Okay, so out of 4 screws, only 1 decided to come out, which is there. So I think I will show you just what I mean with how these can come out of the actual bulb, the light themselves. Now if we pull that off, you can easily see 1 has the threads, no threads, no threads, and no threads. And looking at that, that looks pretty corroded. I might be able to fix that, but let's see. So as you can see with these parts are supposed to be in the housing themselves. So you can see the 1 came out, but I've still got 3. Now the way you can do that is clamp these up without damaging the threads, and then undo the nut on the inside. Now this is the problem with a lot of these lights. All this behind, because it's not actually covered, it gets so much corrosion and it can actually rot all these little metal pieces here. Now what these metal pieces do is it gives a live and a negative to each of the filaments in the bulbs, and that's how you get your lights to work, with obviously your plug in the middle. So the first thing you want to do at this stage is just inspect your little pieces there. Now these pieces obviously connect to this. Now if your connections are bad, then obviously your bulb won't work. So we're just going to check the bulbs real quick. That one seems okay. That one seems okay. Bulb seems okay. Now all these are the same except for this one. Now obviously this one being a twin filament bulb, obviously having your brake and tail light. Right, so all the bulbs are pretty good in this. Now the one thing we want to do is just try and see if we can clean this up the best we can. So the one thing we are going to just quickly do, see how well they come up. I'm just going to get myself a little steel wire brush, just go over these, not too hard, just want to see how bad the corrosion is. So after doing that, we can clearly see up here there's too much rot, and it is actually broken that there where that joint is, and I would say that's pretty too far gone to repair. So the only way you could really repair this is if you had, luckily, another one of these lying around, or it would just be a simple case of try and find a new unit. Now what you can get for these is you can find in some places these little bulb holders that are actually wired rather than having to use this system. They actually have wires coming out of these. Now I prefer them a lot more than this system, and this is exactly why I don't like to use this system, and this is why I don't like these lights, because they are prone to rust and rot. Now of course, being Ford, not Reliant, these I believe are originally from a Ford Escort van, I think. I might be wrong. Either way, they're all Ford and they don't make them anymore, so it's hard to find them for these cars. Now you could try and bridge that with something, maybe. Being how bad and corroded that is, I'm gonna try and find another unit, which is a shame because everything else doesn't look too bad, but I'm gonna buy another unit for this, I think. Okay, so now we have our replacement tail light. Now looking at the back, it looks a whole lot better than the other one did, so hopefully this one should do the job. Now first things first is I want to plug it in the car and just see if anything works. Hopefully for the sake of this video it doesn't. Knowing my luck, I'll probably plug it in and everything will work. So let's stick it in there and find out. Okay, so as you can see, that side's working fine. This is plugged in, but at the minute we have nothing working on this, which is perfect for this video. So what I'm going to do just now is I'm just going to wiggle the backs and see if we have any kind of lights that work. Okay, so we have the rear lights that seem to be intermittent, but there's power. Got no indicators yet. No reverse light. No fog light. So at least we know there's power being given to this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull this off and I'll show you how I get these lights to work just like that side. So for the sake of this video, we're just going to work in the back of the car here. The first thing we want to do is, again, inspect the back of the light. These look considerably better than the previous one. So what the first thing is we're going to do is we're just going to remove all the bulb fittings, and we're just going to take a wire brush just gently to all this and just see if we can clean them up a little bit better. Now I do notice as well that previously someone has soldered a wire onto this. So at some point someone has had problems with this, but I can't see anything obvious, so we're going to carry on and try to repair this. Okay, well, that's cleaned up quite well, and that was just a quick going over with the wire brush, so I'm pretty happy about that. Now we'll come back to this in a moment. So what we're going to focus on now will be the bulb holders themselves. Now a lot of times, if you have a look closely, sometimes these little tabs on the end that connect to this, sometimes they may be rotten, they may be bent or heavily corroded. So the first thing you want to do is pop your bulbs out, check your bulbs, check there's no corrosion all around and on the joint at the bottom. These don't look that bad, and looking in there, these don't look that bad either. Again, I did these a couple of years ago and inside looks really well. However, the outside tabs look a little bit corroded. So again, I'm just going to give them a quick wire brush. What you could do if you're struggling for a wire brush, you could just grab a nice thin little screwdriver and just scratch away at any rust, corrosion buildup. You don't want to dig too deep, just lightly scratching the surface just to remove any of that corrosion buildup. Now what I tend to do here is you'll have the tab right down the center, which is your live feed for the bulb. Now sometimes over time they can actually be bent downwards and they don't quite have a good enough connection on your bulb. So what I like to do is just get down there with a little screwdriver or something, just bend that up, not too far. Again, you don't want it touching the sides there because that's where the negative join will be for the bulb for it to work. So just bring that up and it just helps that better connection on the bottom of the bulb. Now these two side tabs, what you can do, because these are important purely because these are what push against the metal on the back of the board there, and the current obviously flows through these tabs. So if your bulb is intermittent and as soon as you touch it, it works, you let go, it'll stop working. What you can do there is bend these tabs up. Just show you there. Bend these tabs up slightly, and this will make sure that your connection is a tight connection, so these will be pushing more against the board. You don't want to do them too far, of course, because if you do them too much, then you're actually doing the opposite. And then we can check this by getting the board, no bulb, just fit them in and see if they hold quite well. And as you can see with that, it's holding well and it's not wobbling around. So I'm happy enough with that. And then we'll see how the bulb sits inside of this now. And that feels a nice and secure, so I'm happy with that. But there's only one way to find out, and that will be to do the rest of these, put them all in, and then just simply see if there's any connections. Now there is another step we can do with this, which I will show you afterwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that process to the rest of them. Now, like I said earlier, all these ones with the black housings are all the same, so you can fit these either indicator, reverse light or fog light, but the only one that's mainly different is of this white holder, and this is your brake and tail light. Now the reason this is different is because this one, unlike these, you'll see have got the 4 pins. Now of course you'll need positive and negative for 2 sides of the bulb, as there's 2 filaments. So 2 will be positive and negative for your tail light, and the other 2 will be positive and negative for your brake light. We're just going to quickly repeat that process with all of these and then move on to the next stage. Now at this stage, as you can see with this, the bulb is quite loose inside there. What you can do is a little trick that does work and it doesn't actually affect anything. The little ring in there that is the negative for the bulb that sits around the outside of the bulb. It's a clip where it kind of clips together. Now what you can do is bend that in and make that smaller, which will make it more of a tighter fit for your bulb. And having a wiggling bulb can sometimes break the connection of the negative, so that's one thing to watch out for. So the way you can do that, I'm not sure if it'll pick up on camera, you find the join, and then you can simply pop your screwdriver down the side, just like that. It's not broken, it's just unclipped, but you can gently just bend that in. So as you can see just here where it's unclipped, and that actually makes the diameter in here smaller. Now the bulb will actually push against that a lot better and stop it wiggling. So if I put the bulb back in, the bulb now barely wiggles. So that's a much better connection. And just simply bending that clip in won't change anything at all. The only thing it's doing is making sure that the bulb is tight and it's gripped it quite well. So I'm happy with that. I'll move on to the next one. Now with this particular one, because this is the only one that's different because it's brake and tail, you'll see inside you have two prongs. Now obviously they are two different lives for two different filaments. Now the same thing applies. You can bend them up a little bit just to give that bulb that little bit better of connection, and that's as simple as you just bend it upwards only slightly, just like that. That'll still give it a nice, more springier connection. And I'm going to do the same thing with this as well. I'm just going to bring this outer circle in a little bit more, because you can see it's moving about anyway. So we're just going to get behind and just bend that in a little bit. There we go. So you've heard the click. It's not snapped, it's just unclipped, and we're just going to bend that in ever so gently, just like so, and that'll help grip the bulb a little bit better. And don't forget, just quickly clean the contact points on the bulb. If there's a bit of corrosion around the end, just give the outsides a quick wipe around. And then if we put that bulb back in, make sure it's the correct way, because as you can see on these you have two different heights of the pins, so make sure you're checking there, see which one goes where, and there you go, a much tighter bulb. Okay, so all the bulbs are done, and now I'm just going to fit them into the housing, and just to make sure they are pushing against the back of the board here and are making a decent connection. Now it's always worth, when you put them in, just give them a twist left to right, just to scratch themselves in and make a nice connection for themselves. Now already by putting that in, it's not just falling in the slot. I feel a lot of resistance against me, so that straight away is usually a good sign. So as you can see there, just twisting it back and forth just to scratch some fresh metal there so it'll connect a bit easier. Rinse and repeat with the rest. Okay, again, you could probably see the springiness on that, and that's the kind of thing that we're looking for. Okay, so now all them are back in. It's now time to plug it back in the car and see if anything works. And if not, then it'll bring us to the next stage of making these things work. Now, usually this is pretty much all you'll need to do to get the lights to work. Don't get me wrong, then might not work instantly. Sometimes you might have to just take it out and just another bit of faffing and then put it back in, and you will get them to work. But this usually 90% of the time, by doing just this, I'll usually get all the lights working, and they'll last for a long time before they need doing again. So let's plug it in the car and have a look, see what works and what doesn't. Okay, so the moment of truth. I'm going to power the car up and we're going to see how many and if any lights actually work. So let's have a look. Okay, so what do we have working? Well, we have tail light, indicators, and that's it so far. So what we're going to do now is just give the bulbs a gentle wiggle and just see if that will make any difference as to if the bulbs will work or not. Okay, so straight away we can see we've got a dodgy tail light. So if I move that, yeah, so we know that's connection there on the tail light, which is fantastic because I was secretly hoping for this. Reverse, oh, there you go. Just a slight touch and it worked. What about fog lights? Oh, there we go, yeah. Just touching, and there you go. So that's fantastic, which means I can show you the next stage. So let's have a look at that then. So this final stage is one that you want to be careful of, and you want to make sure you do it correctly. So just be very gentle. Do you remember what I was saying about how they have to have some sort of tension, like a spring, so they push themselves to the metal? Well, a lot of the time, over years of use, these will actually slowly start to bend inwards. So again, you want as good, tightest connection as you possibly can. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna help scrape around these metal parts here, just in case of there just might be that little bit more corrosion that the wire brush hasn't taken off. And of course, at this stage or any other stage through this, it's always best to use a little bit more switch cleaner. And what you want to do at this stage is get yourself a really thin, small flathead screwdriver and just gently go underneath and bend them up slightly. Now be careful, because doing this you can easily break these little melted plastic tabs that are holding these down to the backing. If you're doing that, what you want to do, especially with these, hold over that point so it doesn't snap it, and just ever so gently get your screwdriver underneath and just bend them tabs up a little bit. Again, not much, just a little bit will do, just mainly where it's going to be sitting, and you want to just do that through the rest of them. Now I will be honest and say that if you're doing this, do it very carefully, do it at your own risk, because if you snap all these tabs, all this metal's going to start falling away from the light itself, and you're probably going to give yourself a lot of problems. So if you are doing it this way, just be warned, and only do it if you're confident enough to do that. But this will usually fix the issue 100%. Now it's important to remember that when you're doing this, it only takes a little bit of bending. You don't want to bend them all the way out. And this is what takes so much patience, and you have to really be careful. So again, don't think that I'm going out there saying you must do this, but this is what helps me. And every time I've done the same things to these lights, they've always worked. These are old plastic and they do break very easily, so be careful when you're doing these. So you can see how just that section there is raised. You can see that little gap in the middle, but that's what you're after. It just raises them that little bit more, and it just helps secure a better connection. Okay, so moment of truth. That one's all done. I've just plugged it back in. Now we're gonna turn the lights on and see if it all works. Let's find out. And look at that. Absolutely fantastic. We have working indicators, working tail light, working reverse light, and working fog light. And there you go. All the rear lights perfectly working. I'm happy with that result. Right folks, so the light is back in, and as you can see, everything is working on the back as it should, which is what we're after. If you like this episode and you'd like to see more content like this, let us know down below. Also, subscribe if you haven't already, give the video a like, and comment if you'd like to. And just before we shoot off folks, don't forget to go and check out our Facebook page, link is in the description below. This helps you keep updated on the videos that are going out, and also you'll get the opportunity to see some behind the scenes footage as well. And with all that being said folks, thanks for watching, take it easy, and I'll see you on the next one.